recording. So I'll just say a few words in Hebrew, and then I'll pass on the speaker to you guys. בוקר טוב לכל מי שהצטרף. שמי מורית, למי שלא מכיר אותי, כי ככה יש לנו היום פורום טיפה מגוון, גם מנהלי משאבי אנוש, גיוס, מנהלות משאבי אנוש, גיוס, וגם קצת מנהלים מגייסים. כל מי שנמצא על הקו היום מתעסק עם גיוס מפתחים, אנשי פיתוח, ונמצאים איתנו ג'ואנה ודומיניק מחברת Codility, מצוות הפיתוח העסקי של חברת Codility, חברה שמאוד מאוד הרשימה אותנו, עובדת בשנים האחרונות, הם יציגו את עצמם קצת, אבל הם עברו דרכם, בחנו יותר מ2,300,000 אנשי פיתוח, במערכת מאוד מאוד מרשימה שהם פיתחו, וככה היה לנו מאוד חשוב גם שהם יקבלו את הבמה להציג את המערכת. יש כבר בודדים בארץ שנעזרים בהם, אבל בסך הכל הם מאוד לא מוכרים פה, היה לנו חשוב שתכירו אותם, ובאמת ככה למי שמכיר את ההדרכות שלי בנושא של רעיון התנהגותי, אני מדברת הרבה על זה שהחלק שמשלים את הרעיון ההתנהגותי זה מבחן מקצועי, ככל שמצליחים לייצר מבחן מקצועי יותר טוב, שיותר מדמה את התפקוד בשטח, החיבור שלו מעלה את תוקף הניבוי, ובדיוק זה מה שמצאנו בכלי של Codility. So I'll pass on the speaker to you. I just said how impressed we were with Codility and how we wanted everybody in Israel to get to know you guys, and about the way it improves the screening, as I see it, when you combine, especially when you combine it with a behavioral interview, and it's the best way I know to bring up the validity of the prediction of someone's ability to work. So that's my side and the reason that we were happy to organize this webinar, and the stage is yours.
Brilliant. Shalom, everyone, and Toda Moret. We won't abuse Hebrew further because here's a declaration. We don't really speak it. But thanks indeed for the introduction, Morit. We're very happy, Joanna and myself, to be here today and have about, I understand, 45 minutes overall of your time. How we were thinking of going about it is that we will start with an overview pretty much of like, what problem does Codility solve, go then into a more specific use case also of a client, and then really open the floor for questions. Having said that, if you do have questions throughout the talking here, please do feel encouraged to use the questions tab in GoToWebinar. And I think Moritz, you kindly suggested that you will kind of jump in and let me know about those questions so that we can.
Sure.
Perfect. Great. So I guess without further ado, let's get started. Codility is a bit like we give it away in our tagline, or most of it, so it's a bit pointless, but let me elaborate a bit more about what we're doing. In general, the bigger picture, I think, as we're all aware, like we're living in a digitalized world. Most of our toys, most of our instruments and things that we rely on, they run on software. So pretty much the infrastructure of the world is more and more software. And in order for our Tesla, or actually, like, I mean, what you see is a car actually in reality is more software or mobile communication platform than car these days. Because imagine open the Falcon X stores without great software and sensoring. Imagine your Fitbit without software. Or then even imagine going to a doctor's appointment, have an MRI scan or a gamma knife treatment, and software is substandard. So the point being is that not only for our personal efficiency, but even to a certain extent for our personal health, we rely more and more on software, good software. So it's a programmer's world in that sense, because who builds the software? It's programmers. It's a bit of a rhetorical question, especially like in a crowd like here, that by, I guess, your subscription to this webinar, you kind of pretty much signal that you also are looking to hire programmers. I won't say anything new, that this is pretty much everybody these days in the world. which leads us to the point that yes, programmers are wanted. Everybody is looking for them, which to a certain extent leads to their price tag going up. So for a good colleague with technical skills, I understand that in Israel it's somewhere around 350,000 shekel. Again, disclaimer, I'm not an expert there. That's what I hear. I would assume that also in Israel, the salaries are rising. And to attract people, you throw in a couple of benefits that sometimes get quite adventurous. Point being, like for a good programming colleague, one needs to kind of invest more time, which obviously raises your fixed costs too. So how do you choose actually who is good and who is bad? Because obviously, like you want them, they're essential to your business. So in that sense, it's a good investment. But how do you distinguish the good ones from the maybe not so good ones? And I really like how Matt Buckland has put this with this small visualization. It's like you have both phenomenon, right? You have people like Tim Berners-Lee. He calls himself a web developer. As we know, he literally developed the internet. But you know, his CV says web developer. So whereas you have others like here David Ching, and I'm really not sure, he might be really good. It's just to bring up the thing, like some people kind of sell themselves quite well as digital prophets, or like, you know, do they oversell themselves? Are they really as good as their title make them believe to be? And on the other hand, what we see a lot as well is like there's just a lot of programmers out there that are exemplary in humility, but don't really know how to sell themselves, right? So like even you risk not kind of, for example, interviewing great programmers just because they're not so good at presenting themselves. So this is a bit like the problem set that we had at hand, digitalized world that relies on great software to run properly, and then kind of like how to kind of find out who is actually good and masters his or her craft. So what's Codility's story and how does that fit all in? Codility pretty much is one of these stories where we solved our own problem. Greg, who you see here, he is the founder and CEO, and myself, we worked in a company in China in 2005. It was pretty much like an outsourced software development shop, so rather classical. What we had though is a clear commitment to only hire A-class players, because we thought and still firmly believe that if you want to attract A-class programmers or players in general, you need to continuously and only hire A-class players. As soon as you kind of compromise on quality, what you will lose is the company culture, and with it, your company as such. So we always wanted to keep that bar very high. And then one fine day, you know, we had a new contract and a new client came aboard, and we needed 20 new programmers right away, obviously. So we're kind of, how do we do that without compromising on our high bar? What we had before is, and back then I was working on the operational side, so I was actually in charge of well. What we had in place before was kind of, you know, we tried to approximate based on what we got from there. So we looked at the CV for experience, for gaps in experience, for like structure, typos, to get an indication who might actually be good. But it was always kind of this approximation, and personally I kind of felt we probably have a lot of false positives, and also a lot of people we don't even invite for the second interview just because they seem to be not qualified or not diligent enough on paper. So what Greg then actually came up with as an idea and built as a prototype was kind of like, let's just scrap the CV and make code to do the talking. So what he coded is pretty much like an engine that enables programmers to submit their application, if you want, with a piece of code. They got to write a piece of code. We automatically assessed it, and then for the ones that passed this, we took them in for a second round interview. Now the numbers you see here on the slide is pretty much like we widely opened that funnel, right? So we actually went through 2,500 people over a period. I think it's over a period of about a year here. 250 we invited for second round interviews, where then also like a technical member obviously would, you know, go further into knowledge of technologies and whatnot. Out of them, 50 were employed. What we did after this, after the exercise, we then looked actually at the CVs of the people we hired and the best performers especially. And not quite surprisingly, we had quite a few very high performers that had CVs that wouldn't have even done, or wouldn't have even passed this first step that we had in place with all kind of good intention. So in a nutshell, it helped us to quickly and early on be objective and merit-based. It's something that, it enables programmers to speak the language that they're most fluent in, which is code. And especially also in the second round, we needed to take our programmers into second round interviews only where we knew that it's likely to be an interesting conversation to have with the new applicant. So it worked for us, and what Greg then did, he pretty much, if you want, spun this idea off and created Codility in 2009. Now to go more into so what does it actually mean, right? As mentioned, let's go to the talking. What you see here is the screen a programmer sees when he or she takes a Codility assignment. So pretty much, you have the usual functionality of coding. You can specify your own test cases. You can run your code. And you do that all in the cloud, which for you as a recruiter means that you can send these tests out to the world, and pretty much the programmer can decide whenever and wherever to do that assignment without you having to be awake when, for example, an Australian wants to kind of come work in Tel Aviv, they can do it Aussie time. What you get is pretty much like their best shot. What you get as well is, and that's the core, we actually automatically run those submissions and mainly analyze the code based on is it correct? So in a sense, does all corner cases, does it hold and give the right results? What we also assess is performance. So is it not only a nice piece of code in terms of correct answers, but is it also performance? Is it speedy, or does it time out? So these are the two main criteria that we look into. What you see here is an example of a report that you get on average 30 seconds after a candidate has submitted the solution. And to run you a bit through it, you see from top macro, you have obviously the information about the candidate, the session, whatnot, but then you have a test score, which is the overall score on the test, which can include from 1 up to 6 tasks. That's largely up to you choosing. Then it's broken into the task scores, and as you see, even within the task score, you can even break it down to so in terms of correctness or performance, how does this piece of code actually stand up? What I would like to drill in is it's on the same report. There is one other element that you will have. So pretty much what we see here is you will have an early filter that helps you kind of sort out people based on the language that they're most fluent in. And also you have kind of objective reasons to reject, which we see from recruiters is more comfortable than kind of making something up that sounds nice. Here it's pretty much, it's a bit, to a certain extent, it's almost binary, right? And you can just point out, at this point we see that maybe in terms of corner case you need to be a bit more pay a bit more attention. So you can really give fast, objective, and accurate feedback. The second part of this report, and you see it's kind of dynamic here, so you see it's playing back, is we do not like videotape candidates because we believe more in privacy and we don't want to kind of skew the nature of the interview. But what we do is we track how someone is building the piece of code. So you see whenever they run the code, when they add test cases, you see if they kind of do it iterative or all in one chunk. So what this enables you to do is to have on the one hand side information about the coding behavior of people. You will see whether they were on the right track. You will see whether they actually kind of did an error but then corrected, so they kind of see themselves. So you have insights in how someone goes about coding, which can be useful for two cases. One is if maybe the task or the test score is not quite 100% or the bar that you set, but you see that this person was on the right track, you can still take this person in and in a second round engage this person and say like, we see that here you went a bit astray, how would you improve on it? So for technical staff in a second round, there's also quite a bit of flesh to engage someone and just make him or her talk more about how they coded. This is available for every session, so that's something that comes along with the report that you will have, as mentioned, about 30 seconds after the submission of a candidate. Another thing is, Codility has been around for a while, where if you want a bit of a fossil at the startups, if you want, like we started in 2009. What it means as well is that we have quite a range at this point. Like we've done over 2 million assessments. Right now we're a bit in this hockey stick development. So what it means to you is like that, well, obviously for candidates, you can stack your candidates against themselves. So you have a list of like who performs well and you can start with them. But what you can also see is like on the task level, you will see how the candidates of the world performed on this task. So it gives you also a bit of an indication how good maybe your candidate pool is that you tap into. So a certain indication if you can improve also like the locations that you source from. You will see we're kind of worldwide. Our operations are in Poland and San Francisco, but we have clients pretty much all over the world. One of the main benefits, I guess, is you can really kind of start interviewing from the ones with the highest scoring, which results normally kind of in a shorter, quicker hiring process. You're just more likely to have the right talent, again, like the A-class players, right, quicker in the door. So pretty much your product is not delayed or whatnot. So that's one of the things that we, in that sense, enable you to do. I'll make a small excursus with 2 slides and a bit of our philosophy. One is that we kind of strongly believe that you should focus mainly on like if someone actually thinks tech, if they have the understanding, the fundamental understanding of good craft of software engineering, which is, do they understand like how to kind of put together a piece of code, that kind of holds in all corner cases, that is performant over time. We're looking a bit more also in coding style. So we didn't make them write a piece of software focusing on like how they structure it, how well thought through that piece of software is, not so much like in what technology that they're exactly writing it. So most of our tasks that we have so far, and for that reason, are language independent. Your candidate can code in whatever programming language they feel strongest in. Which is kind of like, make them perform on their strengths to see where they actually stand in terms of fundamental understanding. Having said that, if you have an opening that you just want to kind of see how good they are in Java, you can restrict that obviously, and you can say like, but please do it in Java. And the second point is, you've seen our founder before, like Greg is a programmer at heart. He has been the competitive coder into the International Olympiad of Informatics. He's been a lecturer. At the core, we are programmers. So we also understand that if our solution doesn't work or delight programmers, it will also not work for recruiters in the end. So because everybody wants and needs programmers, so let's make sure that they have a good experience while going through a solution such as Codility. So what we've been doing over time is like to really track their assessment of like not only the coding environment, but also like the clarity of the tasks and so on, to kind of know where we can improve. So we measure their responses to be quickly able to react and improve our system over time. How well does it work? Well, the 2 main ones, which I guess you hear from every other solution, obviously we save a lot of time and money. We are aware that like on this slide, the exact figures depend a bit on the geographies and whatnot, but you definitely save time in terms of like screening efforts of your staff, in terms of interviewing efforts of your technical staff. Money kind of deducted from there. You need less of their time. I think the main thing that I would rather focus on is like the third aspect, which we hear a lot, and also like when I worked in China and used that thing, it's just it improves your team morale, right? So even as a non-tech recruiter, it enabled me to kind of filter technical people so as to make sure that in the second round interview, there's only qualified people. So what that meant is that with programmers that are interviewing in the second round, I was kind of an effective filter for them and kind of didn't waste their time in in interviews where they are in 5 minutes into the interview they notice that's actually not gonna work, but they're too polite to cut it there, so they waste 55 minutes of their times for a candidate that was not properly filtered. And the other effect is probably, since you enable that and have your programmers spend more time on your product, your CFO is going to love you too, because pretty much you have more time on, if you want, profit centers than interviewing, which is essential too, but it's not directly profit generating. That's a couple of statements from clients. So we in terms of clients, it's pretty much really like the common denominator, and I'm switching to a couple of the flags. The common denominator of our clients is they're looking for programmers. So they tend to be big technical houses like Amazon, which is actually not on this here, PayPal, but they're also like smaller startups. They're in the banking, fintech, healthcare. Everybody looking for programmers. That's pretty much the bottom line. We've had the privilege to serve more than 1,000 so far. Actually, sorry, 1,000 plus are active right now. So altogether, I don't know, it's been quite nice. Our main markets are States and Europe, but as said, we're worldwide, and we're very interested, obviously, also in Israel, which is also in parts why we're here, and thankful that Moritz gives us this chance. With this, I'm not sure if we have questions at this point. Otherwise, I would pass on to Joanna, who is going to talk a bit more about...
We have one question. Who provides the code from Edith? Who provides the code, Codility or the company?
The code so if I understand correctly, like the code, you mean the programming tasks or the assignments? So there, it's Codility. You have access to a task library of about 140, 150 tasks. They're thoroughly kind of tested and validated and verified for the quality. So you can pretty much choose from those tasks that are of different types. There are coding, algorithmic, bug fixing, some database related, some optimization related. So you can draw from these tasks and you're ready on the go, right? Having said that, if you have a task that you want to kind of upload yourself, like we have the functionality as well that you can add your own task. But most of our clients actually see the benefit and kind of just have high quality tasks readily deployed of Codility. Do you think that answers the question?
So Edith, tell us if it answered the question. Yes, it did. Okay, thanks Edith. And we have another question from Michal. Are you testing only the functionality of the handed software or also the structure, OP principles, etc.?
Good. So at this point, like what we automatically assess is mainly like the correctness, so corner cases and whatnot, and performance. The topic of I think what he is pointing at is like kind of structure, code quality, maintainability. We're looking at this closely. We haven't optimized this thing yet because it stays to a certain extent, not binary, not all subjective. So we don't assess that automatically at this point. We might add that. What you have, I mean, you do have the kind of how someone went about coding. You see if they, if they use cryptic variable names or not. You have that information to a certain extent, but we don't automatically assess that part. Okay. Again, I guess the question, if this addressed the question or if I misunderstood.
Michal, let us know if this answered the question, and I'll ask you another question. Yes, thanks. Okay, so Michal said it answered. And Leon is asking, can he provide the baseline for the results?
So the golden solutions and the solutions. Pretty much the answer is no to that. We might from time to time in a training, but as such we don't disclose it, mainly because we want to make sure that our tasks stay uncompromised.
No, Leon, maybe you are answering. He's asking if he can provide the baseline for the results. I'm assuming if he's adding a question of his own, can he give you the baseline? So,
I think the answer there is Yeah, so the answer there is, I think, in a nutshell, yes. What we would normally have when you upload your own tasks, also like you will have the support of our task teams, which are like, there's professors and they kind of look into, and where necessary, where we deem necessary, we will comment and kind of help you improve on it. Always on the light that Codility understands itself, and I think is the quality player out there. We want to make sure that these results stay significant. So we would kind of like do a friendly moderation step with recommendations.
Okay. So Leon, tell us if it answered. And Dana has two questions. Do you have an exam for pure Java? And also, how long does an average exam lasts? How long does it take?
Right. So in terms of like going into the specifics of Java and very technology specific questions, we don't have that in place yet. Having said that, though, like I said, like all of our questions can be solved in Java only, so you see how they use Java. We are adding some technology specific or career specific question or additional career specific questions, such as JavaScript, such as I think we're going to be like on mobile, and so we're adding this. We're always happy to. I think it was Dana asking, right? So Dana, if you have a specific job description, we're happy to suggest a test that meets this job description best. So that's a service we provide that we can help you choose the right tasks for the respective opening.
Okay. So Dana, tell us if it answered. And Leon goes back to the question
There was,
if he can
there was
provide
a
the.
second, Morit.
Sorry.
Sorry, I think she had a second question
Oh,
regarding
I'm sorry
the
about
timeline, right?
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the time it takes.
In a nutshell, you decide as recruiters. Um, when you choose the tasks from the library, what we do have is we give guidance on what we would recommend, mainly based on the number of tasks and the type of tasks. Now, our philosophy, like with these recommendations, I mean, we look into like what's the average time taken by candidates that perform these tasks. So it's quite data-driven, our suggestions. That combined with the philosophy that we're not so strongly suggesting that you make that very competitive, because also on a daily basis or like in daily work, probably you don't have this kind of competition kind of thing. So you want to kind of keep the timeline relatively tight, but not as tight that it kind of feels like a coding challenge for prices, and not to lose so that you don't have too much time to call a friend and ask your granny. So in that sense, in a short answer, we do suggest how long a test lasts based on your choosing, but you can override that to your as to your preferences.
Great. Thank you. And Dana, thanks. So it answered. Leon asks again about the previous question about providing the baseline. He said he wanted to give the baseline based on their own employees' results. That was the question, if they can provide it. And there's another question from Leon. Are there tasks that are relevant for students for computer science and not for the experienced population?
Absolutely. I think the answer to the last one, that's pretty much that's our sweet spot. That's where we all started. I think in that realm of graduate recruitment, also like we're strong as such, and we have quite a bit of track record also there, right? Obviously also in lateral recruitment of mid to senior level positions. Yeah. Do you think we can make a quick break in the questions here, have Joanna talk quick about TomTom, and then we kind of break into a Q&A afterwards again?
Sure.
Awesome.
Okay, great, Dominic. Thanks so much. Thanks, Mort. So at the moment, we work with a few prominent companies in Israel. Among them is Wix. I'm just going to briefly mention them. The website creator, I'm sure everyone's familiar. So they've been our client for over a year now, and they have invited at the moment close to 1,000 candidates to take our tests. They've been a very happy client with us for the past year, and the relationship is very strong. But I want to talk to you more today about our other global client, which is TomTom. It's a global company everyone I'm sure is familiar as well, produces navigation and mapping products. They're headquartered in Amsterdam, 28 locations across Europe, Eastern Europe, Russia. They've got 6 main engineering offices located throughout Europe. And at the moment, we work primarily with their European division. At the moment, they have tested for the past 3 years with us over 4,000 candidates. And they've been enjoying a seamless experience with Codility because, as probably Dominic mentioned before, we have integrated our system with their existing system. In this case, we have built against our open API. In general, Codility is open to integrate with your system or bigger application tracking systems, such as the all-known Greenhouse or JobVite and the like. Yeah. So a little bit more maybe about the staff at TomTom. The staff there using Codility is primarily in-house non-technical recruiters who work very closely with a team of our engineers who provide assistance with test creations. They can answer any technical question that a non-technical recruiter can have. So as Dominic mentioned before, we have an inbuilt button at your homepage in the back office as you log in as a client. You just copy paste your job description and the name of the test that you want, and we pretty much create the test for you in less than 24 hours. So this is something that our non-technical recruiters are very happy with. Often with their time constraints and unavailability of the engineering staff, it's a process that they really are happy with. So just to conclude quickly, TomTom shows that you can really use this system, use Codility across many geographies, and pretty much have a common benchmark to assess candidates that you attract. And it's largely really up to you how many tests you want to create out of our Codility library that consists at the moment of over 140 test questions. Yeah. So thanks to Mord and HRD, we do have a special offer for our webinar attendees. At the moment, if you after this webinar, you pretty much will have 2 weeks of open full extended trial. It's going to be 20 test credits that you can play with, so you can send the test that you create or you ask us to create for you to 20 candidates and just see how it works. Yeah. You will have the full system open, and at the moment 134 test questions to choose from. So just give it your best shot, really, and ask anything, any questions you like, and we'll be happy to help. Yeah, with the trial. Thanks very much. Back to you, Dominic.
Guess we can do it back to kind of questions and,
yep.
and other comments, questions that you might have
on this test case or anything else.
Thanks, Joanna. Any more questions? We have, for now, they seem to be happy with what they've heard. So we are recording this webinar, and we'll send out the recording to everyone on the line if you want to share this with someone else in your team. But one question from Adi. Hey, Adi. So we're still here. Adi is writing her questions, so we'll wait a second. And if you have any other questions, now is a great time. And we'll send out the link for the for asking for the to start your trial. Adi is asking, what about testing questions such as UML? I hope you understand it.
Yeah, we have some specific ones that could be used for UML. I have to say I'm not 100% sure if we have that. Adi will be happy to kind of inquire quickly with our task team, so that don't promise something that I might not be aware of. So Adi, if you want to quickly give us your email after this, or I guess we have it, then we can get back to you with an answer on this one.
Okay, sure. So Adi will write to you. And Gosia is asking, how do you support your customers? So maybe that's a good time to ask about, in general, how the process is going to be now with experiencing your system, and then later on how you support your customers.
So next to the free cocktails and everything, Joanna, do you want to elaborate on this one?
Well, the first initial contact is always just establishing the needs really of each customer, right? And then pretty much you are supported by a whole team. I mean, you get your relationship manager who helps you as you go. So if you have any questions regarding creation of a particular test, you email your relationship manager. So you do have a name that you get in touch with, and they're always there to answer, and they pretty much check their email 24 hours. We do have an office, quite an extensive office in the U.S. as well, in San Francisco. So we pretty much cover the whole time zone, and there's definitely relationship managers there on call as well. So with any concerns, you should get an answer within 3 to 4 hours at the latest, really. Does that answer your question about support, or can I help in any other way?
Maybe just to add, I mean, we have the
That's great, thanks.
Gosia said San Francisco, and your relationship manager is likely to sit here in this office where we are currently, which is Poland, Warsaw.
That's
so
right.
We're an hour time zone away from you. So
that's
I think
right.
we should cover your active daylight zone, or like we should be active too. So
yeah, great point, Dominic. Yeah. Right, we are just an hour away, really. So
great.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So any other questions? And if not, it was a great presentation. I enjoyed it. I always learn something more every time we talk.
Well, thanks again, Moritz, for giving us this chance. Really appreciate it, and thanks for everybody that joining it. I think Moritz, you will send, I think
I'll send out the link for having the trial with you and the experience in the system. To register to it, and also the article that Yakov wrote detailing a bit more about what you just said. If any of you want to share it with the managers, there's an article that Yakov wrote just telling a bit about Codility, and the link to contacting you guys and getting the benefit that you described. And then we'll send out the recording, I hope, on Sunday after it finishes doing all the translating it into video and everything. So thanks a lot to everyone for joining us, and thank you, Dominic and Joanna, for such a great presentation, and a lot of luck. Good luck with hiring. I got a weekend ahead of us. So thank you.
Yeah, perfect.
And
enjoy your weekend, everyone, and thanks again, Moritz, for giving us this chance.
It's thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.